In the village of Umoja, life moved at its own pace. The village sat between tall mountains and winding rivers, surrounded by thick forests that kept it hidden from the outside world. Here, people lived by rules and traditions passed down through many generations. Asha and Kwam had waited 12 years for a child. After losing 4 babies, they had almost given up hope. Then Amara came into their lives, a strong, healthy baby girl who grew into a curious and stubborn teenager. Perhaps it was because they had waited so long, or maybe it was the fear of losing her like the others. But they gave Amara everything she wanted. "You spoil her too much," Grandmother Zuri would often tell Asha. "A child needs boundaries, especially one born after such sorrow." But Asha would just smile and wave away her mother's concerns. "She's just spirited. That's all. She'll grow out of it." Yet Amara didn't grow out of it. Instead, she grew bolder. At 15, she had already broken more village rules than any child before her. Last month, she had climbed the sacred baobab tree despite the elders' warnings. 2 weeks ago, she had wandered into the forbidden forest at night on a dare. Each time she escaped punishment, her confidence grew stronger. The village elders watched her with worried eyes. "That girl will bring trouble," Elder Jabari would mutter during council meetings. "Mark my words." One hot evening, Amara sat with her friends under the bamboo trees near the village square. The air was thick with humidity, and the sound of crickets filled the silence between their words. Her 5 closest friends were there. Zara, who had been her best friend since they could walk, the twins Keone and Kira, quiet Jabilo, and Tao, who secretly admired Amara despite her wild ways. "I heard Elder Jabari talking about the market spirits again today," Zara said, fanning herself with a banana leaf. "He said they're getting restless because people don't respect the old ways anymore." "The market spirits?" Amara rolled her eyes. "Have you ever seen these spirits, Zara?" "Of course not." Keone cut in. "Nobody sees them because nobody's stupid enough to look for them." "My grandmother told me about her cousin," Kiara added, lowering her voice. "He bent down and looked through his legs in the market 40 years ago. They found him the next morning, completely mad, speaking in tongues." "Speaking in tongues?" Amara laughed. "And I suppose he saw ghosts dancing and demons flying too?" "It's not funny, Amara," Tao said seriously. "Every culture has its taboos. There must be a reason why the elders warn us about this one so strongly." "Oh, please." Amara stood up, pacing around their small circle. "Think about it. What's so special about bending over and looking through your legs? It's just another way for the elders to control us. They make up these stories to keep us afraid." "But why this specific rule?" Jabilo spoke up, his voice quiet but firm. "Why the market? Why that particular way of looking?" "Because they know nobody would normally do it," Amara exclaimed. "It's perfect. Create a rule against something nobody would think to do anyway, then claim it's dangerous. That way, nobody tests it, and the elders look powerful." Her friends shifted uncomfortably. They had known Amara long enough to recognize the gleam in her eyes, the same look she got before every reckless decision. "Amara," Zara said slowly, "whatever you're thinking, don't." "I'm going to do it," Amara announced, her face breaking into a wide grin. "Tomorrow, in the market. I'll bend down, look through my legs, and prove to everyone that nothing will happen." "No," all 5 friends shouted at once. "You can't." Kiara grabbed her arm. "What if something does happen?" "Like what?" Amara challenged. "What's the worst that could happen? I might see some spirits? Maybe they'll dance for me?" She laughed again, but her friends didn't join in. "Your parents would be devastated," Tao tried reasoning with her. "After everything they went through to have you." For a moment, doubt flickered across Amara's face. Then she shook her head. "Nothing will happen to me. And once I prove these spirits don't exist, maybe people will start questioning other stupid rules too." "At least don't do it alone," Zara pleaded, knowing there was no changing Amara's mind once it was made up. "Let us come with you." "Yes," Jabilo agreed quickly. "If something does happen." "Fine." Amara smiled. Meet me tomorrow at noon when the market is busiest. I want everyone to see that their precious spirits are nothing but stories to scare children." One by one, her friends agreed to come, though none of them looked happy about it. As the sun set and they headed home for dinner, Zara hung back with Amara. "I have a bad feeling about this," she said softly. "Please reconsider." "You worry too much," Amara hugged her friend. "This time tomorrow, we'll all be laughing about how scared we were. Trust me." But as Amara walked home that evening, even she couldn't completely ignore the small voice of doubt in the back of her mind. At dinner, she was quieter than usual, pushing her food around her plate. "Is everything all right, my dear?" Asha asked, noticing her daughter's unusual behavior. "Yes, Mama," Amara forced a smile. "Just tired." That night, Amara lay awake in bed, listening to the night sounds of the village. She could hear the distant drums from the neighboring village, the hooting of owls, and the rustle of wind through the trees. Tomorrow she would prove herself right or terribly, terribly wrong. Just before dawn, she woke from a troubled dream where dark shapes had chased her through an endless market. But in the light of morning, the dream faded, and her determination returned. She got dressed quickly, her hands shaking slightly as she dresses up. "You're up early," Quime noticed as she rushed through breakfast. Meeting friends. Amara called over her shoulder, hurrying out before her parents could ask more questions. Outside, the morning air was already thick with heat. Market day was always busy in Umoga, but today the usual excitement felt different to Amara, heavier, more significant. As she walked toward their meeting place, she repeated to herself what she'd told her friends. There were no spirits, no danger, just old superstitions. But why, then, did her heart beat so fast? By noon, the Umoja marketplace was packed with people. Vendors set up their stalls close together, selling everything from fresh fruits to handmade cloth. The smell of roasted corn mixed with spices filled the air, and people's voices rose as they bargained over prices. Amara found her friends waiting at the edge of the market. Zara looked like she hadn't slept, while the rest kept glancing around nervously. Jabilo stood slightly apart from the group, and Tao was pacing back and forth. "You actually came," Zara said, grabbing Amara's arm. "I hoped you'd change your mind." "Of course I came," Amara pulled away. "Are you all ready?" "Ready for what?" A sharp voice cut in. They turned to see Mama Hadia, one of the market women, watching them suspiciously. "What are you children planning?" "Nothing, Mama Hadia," Amara smiled sweetly. "Just shopping." The old woman narrowed her eyes. "Himph. I know that look, girl. Don't cause trouble in my market." "We should listen to her," Kiara whispered as soon as Mama Hadia moved away. "Let's go home." "No." Amara's voice was firm. "I'm tired of everyone treating me like a child. Come on." She led them through the crowded market, pushing past people buying and selling. A group of women argued over yam prices. Children ran between stalls playing chase. Everything seemed so normal, so ordinary. They reached the center of the market where four paths crossed. Vendors had left this space clear for people to walk through. Amara stopped and looked around. "This is perfect," she said. "Everyone can see us here." "Please," Tao tried one last time. "Think about what you're doing." "I have thought about it." Amara turned to face her friends. "I'm going to prove once and for all that these spirits aren't real." A few people nearby had stopped to watch them. Mama Hadia was pointing in their direction, talking to another market woman. "Amara," Jabila's voice shook slightly. "There's still time to walk away." But Amara wasn't listening anymore. She planted her feet firmly on the ground, a challenging smile on her face. "Watch and learn," she said loudly. Then she bent forward and looked through her legs. At first she saw what she expected, just people's feet walking past, dust rising from the ground, baskets and cloth at the bottom of market stalls. She almost laughed at how simple it was. "See," she started to say. "Nothing has happened." The words died in her throat. Something was changing. The feet she could see began to move differently, like they were walking through water. The dust on the ground swirled in patterns that didn't match the wind. Colors started to run together like wet paint. Amara tried to stand up straight, but her body wouldn't move. The market sounds were fading away, replaced by a heavy silence that pressed against her ears. As she called out, her voice sounding strange and far away. "Something's wrong." Then she saw them. Between the legs and feet of regular shoppers, dark shapes moved across the ground. They weren't shadows. Shadows don't move against the sun. These things glided between people, their forms tall and twisted, their movements smooth like oil on water. Amara's heart began to pound. She could see more of them now, drifting through the market like dark smoke. They passed through people as if they weren't there, leaving behind a cold that she could feel even from where she stood. One of the spirits stopped. Slowly it turned toward her. Its eyes opened endless pools of light that seemed to look right through her. Amara tried to scream, but no sound came out. The veiled parts of voice whispered in her mind, cold as winter wind. "You see us now, child of dust, and we see you." More spirits were turning toward her now. The world around her grew darker, colder. The spirit nearest to her reached out with what might have been a hand. "No," Amara managed to whisper. "Please, no." You wanted to see the spirit's voice echoed in her head, "So now you shall see everything." Panic gripped Amara's chest as the spirit's cold touch drew closer. She could hear her friends calling her name, but their voices seemed to come from very far away. The market had disappeared completely now, replaced by swirling darkness and those terrible, glowing eyes. "Help me," she tried to say, but the words froze in her throat. The spirit's touch was inches away. "You crossed the boundary," the whisper came again. "You broke the veil. And now." Amara wanted to run, to scream, to close her eyes, but she could do none of these things. Her body remained frozen, bent over, forced to watch as the spirits gathered around her. And now the voice finished, "You belong to us." The last thing Amara saw clearly was a market woman's feet hurrying past, completely unaware of the darkness gathering around her. Then the spirit's hand reached her, and everything changed forever. Please subscribe, like, and comment on our YouTube channel to know more about what happened to Amara.